So this year in your storyline is so interesting because in the history of time, I don't know that I can remember someone saying, okay, this is it. This is my last year. And then playing the best they've potentially ever played. Like, I think that is the hook. I told producer Mike that my family, my kids, my wife aren't really that knowledgeable about tennis. My wife barely liked watching when I was playing. But it was when you were playing the final of Miami, we have like a Sunday dinner where my wife's parents come over and we all kind of go out, and I was like, hang on, I want to watch the end of this match. I have to watch this. This is such a cool story. And I started kind of explaining, that you had said this was your last year, and then you got on this run, and this was like a huge tournament and would be the biggest title you had won. And then we talked about the way that you kind of play. It draws people in, the emotion that you use. It's digestible for not just tennis fans, but just humans, right? People that maybe like sports. And I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. They sat down and were dialed in. They could kind of feel your emotion each time. My in-laws were there. My wife was there. And it was just, I think the story is so unique. Walk us through how it's been from your perspective, from saying this is it to the whirlwind that was Miami, Charleston, and the level that you've reached kind of since that announcement was made in January.
Yeah, well, I mean, following up my retirement announcement with 2 titles definitely has felt good. And I mean, I think everyone has a different way they envision going out with their career, but I want to go out playing my best tennis. Um, Obviously, I've spoken about my goals outside of the court and want to start a family and have kids. And that process starts a little bit earlier for me because of some of the health challenges that I've had. And you know, I feel like in a lot of ways, I've been on tour forever. I'm like, wow, I really feel like I've been out here for ages. And then in other ways, I'm like, wow, back in 2017, I wasn't even in like main draws of slams. Like was just getting out of college, just getting my pro career started, playing a lot of ITF tournaments and building my ranking. So, I look at some of the girls that are a lot younger than me and they have a lot more experience, some of them, than I do because they have been playing longer. Um, but at the same time, I'm just kind of at that period in my life where I'm ready for the next chapter. And, I think a lot of people have been really taken back by the level that I've played at the last couple of months. But I really think a lot of times when you make little improvements here and there, and then you start to piece it all together, it makes all of the difference in the world. And I think that that's kind of what happened is I lost some close matches at the end of last year and the beginning of this year against Iga in Australia. Matches coming down to just a few points, a few games, a few shots that may have I missed by this much, and a few shots that my opponents may have made by this much. So I just kind of feel like at this point I've been working so hard at improving little areas of my game just by like 2%, 5%, like just little by little. And I think it's just all come together for me. And finally, I felt like some of the things that I've struggled with on court with my tactics and technically, I've been able to figure out. And I think part of figuring out some of this later in my career is because I do travel by myself a lot. I do get to have the help of lots of people that I'm close to, but I don't always have a consistent team around me. And so a lot of the evolution of my game has been figuring things out on my own. I haven't, had like the same consistent voices and messaging over the years and have worked with different people at different times. And I feel like I've had to kind of figure out, okay, like how can I, start making some of these shots in high pressure moments, and how can I get more consistent at hitting it like this close to the baseline or this close to the side of the singles line and hitting those shots accurately in big moments and having the confidence to do it. That's been the biggest game changer, I think, for me is those shots that I used to miss, I've been hitting more consistently. And in the days that don't go my way, like my last match against Arena in Madrid, I was missing some of those shots. And she was also making some of those shots in those small margins. So it just came down to a few points here and there. But, the thing with women's tennis too is we have such strong depth across the board. It's like every week you play, you have to really show up mentally and physically. And I think that's been a challenge, if I'm being honest. I think over the years with my health challenges, I've had to become more creative in how to work around those challenges. I think there's been times where I have overtrained. I think there's times where, I wasn't probably doing the right things, taking care of my body. And I just wasn't aware of like, what are the things that work for me and what are the things that don't work for me. And it's been a bit of a learning curve. Like I said, I haven't been on tour that long compared to a lot of the other players my age. And so it's finally clicking for me. And it's pretty late in my career for this to be happening. I wish, in some ways it would have happened a little bit earlier, but at least when I'm all done at the end of the year, I can look back and say, wow, I really put my best effort to try to figure these things out and get the most out of myself as an athlete. So I'm really proud of the improvements I've made, even though I would have liked them to happen a little earlier.
Well, I mean, you say earlier, but obviously you went to college, and I want to talk through that process as well. But you kind of started playing on. You mentioned 2017 in the minors, and you kind of skipped the part where early in 2018 you make a quali and semi in Miami, and then all of a sudden you're in a Slam final. Not too many years later, a Slam semi, and then followed up with a Slam final. So
Yeah, it was like semifinals, quarterfinals, finals. So
yeah, I mean,
hopefully building to the next one. So
that's it. Yeah, exactly. That'd be a hell of a send off.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that now.